This video is made possible by Practical Defense Systems, the best online security training at the lowest prices. You can start your security career today online at pdsclasses.com. Check them out.
Praise the Lord and pass the ammunition. It's time for the GunGuyTV podcast.
Hi, this is Joel Persinger. I'm the Gun Guy. Thank you very much for all of your support of GunGuyTV and for your listening to this podcast. I am extremely grateful. Now, first, let me apologize to you for being so stinking late in getting this podcast done. It's the 25th when this podcast was due to be published on the 20th. But with the whole COVID-19 coronavirus thing, it took some time for my wife and I to make some shifts over to working from home entirely in order to keep our business running. We had a plan B, and we have a plan C for when B doesn't work. The problem is sometimes it takes a little bit of time to shift from one plan to the other. It isn't just like flipping a switch. So as a result, it took us a little time to get everything squared away. We did, and I'm a few days late, so please forgive me. I want to get back to gun stuff. Lately, I've been doing videos about the coronavirus outbreak and how it affects life in the San Diego County area where I am in California. But I'd like to get back to gun stuff in the first part of this podcast, and then in the second part, which will be on Patreon only, I'm going to talk a little bit about preparedness and why companies like Facebook, Goldman Sachs, Tesla, Apple, and so on had such a large stockpile of N95 masks, and what does that teach you and me? We'll talk about that in the second part of the podcast, which will be on Patreon only. As usual, the first half hour, which will be an interview that we did with some folks from Cmmg while at SHOT Show in January, will be available to the public on your favorite podcast player. And then the second half will be on Patreon only. So let's get started with the interview with Cmmg. From Cmmg, we've got Eric Renander, and we've actually got a real Cmmg guy, Mike Odell, sitting here talking with us about what's going on with CM. He's a real Cmmg guy.
A real Cmmg.
Yeah, Eric's not a fake guy. He just actually works for a marketing company,
I
which
like
is
to be
outstanding.
the guy behind the scenes where everyone's talking about the product, but nobody knows who really set it up, and I just sit back and watch the magic
And that's
happen.
why you're on the podcast, because you want to be behind the scenes.
Yes, exactly.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah,
we put Mike on the camera. He's the better looking guy.
That's it.
Yeah, I do a lot of our media and stuff, like our in-house stuff. I do a lot of the interviews. I do the show setups. I do, our in-house content and things of that sort. So I've been familiar with the product for many years, and I come in and talk about our products and have fun.
Well, this is a great segue then. Okay, so tell me what's going on. First of all, how's the show going for you?
It is going incredible. This year we expanded a little bit. We've had the same booth for many years, and this year we were able to expand and actually have a second booth. So we have our booth in law enforcement we've had for quite some time, and we now have a booth in the main hall. And I'll tell you what, the traffic has been incredible. The last couple of years, we've really been, kind of turning the corner. And I think it's funny when I look back at some of my first SHOT Shows. I think, okay, there were times when somebody would walk by and I would almost have to grab them by the arm and be like, "Hey, come check out this product. Do you want to see this product?"
Yeah.
And I had to tell them about Cmmg. Now we have people that come into our booth and they just come to me and go, "Talk to me about this." So now people are seeking us out, and the traffic flow has been great. I absolutely love it.
Yeah, you still feel like a circus barker every once in a while, don't you?
Every once in a while you do. You're like, hey. It's just, we had a previous employee that I used to jokingly call him a carnival barker because he had it nailed. But I couldn't imagine doing anything else. I love what I do. I love my products, and it's so easy to talk about the products and what you do if you love it.
So what is going on? I'm sorry, did you want to say something?
Oh, I was just agreeing with it.
Oh, okay.
Made sense to me.
All right, well, I'm just trying not to be rude, but I got, it's difficult for me. No, I'm kidding. What's going on new with Cmmg?
Oh, well, our newest thing, we actually just introduced this last week, so the week before SHOT Show, is our new AR-57 conversion magazine. So, it's kind of funny. We dropped that out on social media and we put it out there, and we're looking at some of the show coverage, and everybody's like, "Oh, the new hotness is Cmmg's AR-57 conversion." Cmmg's getting into the 5.7 game, and I always have to kind of step back and be like, we've actually been in the 5.7 game for a while.
Yeah, for quite a while. Yeah.
Yeah, we introduced our Mark 57 in the summer of 2018. And now we've just kind of expanded on that. But last year, we had an incredible 2019. Starting with SHOT Show 2019, we introduced the 350 Legend. We were the first AR manufacturer to have the 350 Legend. Then we went to 40 Smith & Wesson, and then, in our radio delay blowback operating system. And then we did our 9 AR conversion mags, which allows you to shoot 9mm out of a adapted PMag in a standard AR lower. And then we released our 10mm. 2019 was a great year, but, basing it off of the 9mm AR conversion that we had that allows you to now use our radio delay blowback operating system upper on any standard lower and still shoot 9mm out of it, we kind of stepped back and said, well, what else can we do this with?
Well, now let me tell you a little story about your 9mm conversion system.
Mm-hmm.
That is absolutely the best thing since the napkin. I know, because one was sent to me.
Yeah.
Now, by the way, in case you're wondering, the napkin is pretty darn cool. Okay, but that was
my
sent to me.
girlfriend would definitely agree with you. She likes using a lot of those.
There you go.
She's going to hate me for hearing that.
That system was sent to me along with some 10-round mags and the conversion deal. So if you don't happen to live in a Nazi state like I do in California, you can actually just clip the little thing and bring, and you got a 30-round mag. That thing runs like a Swiss watch. It is the most incredible thing.
Well, the nice thing about
and I just want to say one more thing. I have an AR and I have a lot of uppers.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not saying this because you're sitting here because you're not paying me anything. But I got to tell you something. That is the highest quality upper I own.
Thank you.
And I've got some nice ones. That is the highest quality upper I have. I've been so impressed.
Thank you very much.
With that system. You guys are rocking in the stuff that you're making.
We're trying to. I mean, we have, our core group of engineers. I don't know how they get sleep.
They don't.
We're bringing on more engineers all the time because we're constantly trying to push that envelope and come up with fun new products. With the radio delay blowback operating system, that really, that's been an incredible performer for us. But now being able to use that technology and breathe a little bit of life back into a standard AR lower is kind of our fun thing right now. So we're looking at your standard AR lower, and we're like, hey, look, now you can shoot all of these different things through your standard AR lower. And people that are fortunate enough to be able to have something that's Form 1 or Form Forward, if they have a registered SBR, if they're lucky enough to have a transferable machine gun that's been in that stale 5.56 cartridge for a little while. And I don't necessarily mean to say 5.56 is stale, but the platform kind of gets stuck there with just, that's the only round I can shoot. Well, now with the 9AR conversion, they got an incredible 9mm. It's insanely fun to shoot. You got 5.7 out of it now. You can even do, go back into one of our first conversions to the 22. You can shoot for pennies on the dollar.
And by the way, I have that too, and that is about as awesome as it gets.
They are so fun. So, people ask me all the time, they're like, what's your favorite gun? And I'm like, actually, our 22.
One of my favorite things about this guy sitting next to you is, people, I'm picking on Eric over here. A lot of folks send me things to review, and we don't charge for reviews, and I don't ask people to leave things with me. We always tell them, if you want it back, send us a prepaid return shipping label. When we're done, we'll ship it back to you. And those two products were sent to me for review. And at this point, if you send me a label, I'm not sending them back. I just want you to know that.
There should be a label in your mailbox when you get home from Vegas.
Nick, if we see that, can we agree that we didn't see that?
I don't even hear what he just said.
That's what I heard nothing there. I heard nothing. So, outstanding product.
They've moved and left no forwarding address.
Yeah.
Well, I don't want that because then he won't send me something.
Get the products.
We won't get the next thing.
Well,
that's right.
One thing that I'd say about the 9mm AR conversion is how fun it is to load and easy to load with the PMag. You've loaded Glock magazines or Colt magazines, and your thumbs just wear out over time. And when you're loading into a PMag, it just snaps right in the top, just like a 223 or 5.56 would.
It's not the push down, push back, push down, push back.
No, it just snaps right in.
Snap.
It's an odd thing to be excited about and talk about, but when you go to a lot of events and you're the guy that stands in the back and you load magazines all day long, it's nice to get one that loads.
He's really
easily.
Good at loading magazines.
But to your point, yeah, he's probably done it many times. To your point, Eric, these are the small things in product design and product engineering, which really on the consumer end count for, serious kudos, because the difference between one product which is thought out to that well to that detail, and a competing product which is not, is huge on the from the user's perspective.
Yeah.
It really is, and you're right. I mean, those magazines, so that you know, 9mm is cheap, and I love to shoot. I have burnt so many rounds through that conversion kit that it boggles the mind. I've just run so many rounds through it, and it's a breeze. It's fun to load. It's incredible fun to shoot. It's cheaper to shoot in my 5.56 all day long.
Oh, yeah.
And I still get to practice with the same platform. And the other nice thing about it I like is I'm practicing with the same platform and the same mag type.
Yes.
So I'm not practicing, and I don't have to buy I didn't have to go buy a 9mm dedicated lower.
Yeah.
I'm just swapping it out.
Well, if you have a chest rig or pockets, your mags
are
fit.
right.
You don't have the stick mag that's poking out, so everything fits in muscle memory when you're doing your mag changes. It's the same.
Yeah, that's one of the things I was about to refer to is, so you have the people they're training for, defense, or, you have law enforcement or something that wants to train a little bit cheaper. They have those scenarios where they have their muscle memory and they need that chest rig and stuff.
And shoot still closer with 9mm than you would.
But then you've also got the whole world of like 3-gun competitors. You got these guys that have their race guns, that have their fast trigger, their stock. Everything is set up to fit them perfectly, including where their mag holders are on their body. Well, now they can venture into a PCC class, not change gear, and all this stuff, still have all that same muscle memory. All they did was just change to a conversion magazine and an upper. But everything else still feels exactly the same.
And they can keep the optic the same. Anything on that upper, they can keep exactly the same.
So all they're doing is going from a 5.56 to a 9mm, and now they're entering the whole fun new world of PCC, classes.
You're listening to the GunGuyTV podcast. Please pay no attention to the man behind the curtain.
One thing I would like you to address, because I don't quite understand how it works, and maybe getting too technical here is probably not a good idea, but there is a easily defined. If I pick up that upper and I run 9s through it, and I pick up my wife's Ruger PC carbine, which by the way I love, and I run 9s through it, the recoil is totally different.
So we're talking about radial delay blowback versus standard blowback.
That's exactly what we're talking about. And I know the immediate response is, well, 9mm doesn't have any recoil anyway. It's not the 9mm. It's the bolt slamming back with great authority every snick of time. It's the weight of the bolt.
I was talking to somebody earlier, and all the years that I've been into the AR world, I had my first AR was a CMMG way before I even started working for CMMG. And I had a 5.56, and I go out to the range. I'm like, man, this thing shoots incredible. It has no recoil. I took some friends to a range one time. I didn't have my AR with me, and on the wall was an AR. I'm like, hey, let's rent that. Let's shoot it. And they hand me this straight stick mag. I'm like, what is this? And they're like, oh, it's a 9mm. And we shot it, and I was blown away by the recoil impulse of a 9mm in an AR compared to my 5.56. It felt significantly more because you have so much more reciprocating mass. I mean, a standard blowback bolt on an AR has a heavy blowback bolt. It has a heavy buffer to negate just that operating system. So you have a lot of mass moving. You have a lot of inertia. You have just the velocities with that heavier system. Well, with our radial delay blowback operating system, if you look at that bolt compared to a standard blowback bolt, it looks like a 5.56 bolt carrier group. I mean, it has the separate bolt and carrier as opposed to one cohesive unit. So if you look at the 9mm, for example, you have about 6 ounces less reciprocating mass. So that means that recoil impulse is going to be down. You have a lot less moving weight, a less moving inertia. And it translates to very smooth operating, faster follow-up shots.
No,
and
it's
everything.
like glass, man.
It is.
I mean, it's smooth as glass. The other thing you just said it, I'm going to say it again, is I'm just swapping uppers and mags. I'm not having to change out my buffer tube, my buffer spring. I'm just swapping uppers and mags.
Yep.
That's it.
Yeah, so it makes it really easy.
Yeah, I mean, I sound like I'm a shill here. I'm not. You're not paying me anything, but it's not a matter of you sending me products. People do that all the time. The fact is, the product is just awesome. I can't tell you how impressed with it I've been.
It's the American MP5.
It absolutely is.
Because the MP5 has the roller delay.
It has a roller delay blowback, which is the same way.
Anybody who shot the MP5, which not a lot of people have, it's expensive, $2,300, $2,500. I've had the privilege of shooting it. Yeah, Nick's over there holding his heart. Yeah, my wife would kill me. It's a smooth shooting gun. I love the MP5, but yeah, proprietary magazine. It's a little bit heavier. With the Cmmg, it's an AR platform, which every American loves, the AR platform, and it's our radial delayed blowback operating system. So the recoil is significantly less, just like the MP5, but at $1,500 for the high end. We also offer it in the 200 and 100 series, which is going to reduce the cost a little bit. So you're not spending $2,500. You're buying an AR-15 platform with radial delayed blowback for $1,000 less than you would the MP5.
Well, while I can't do it in California because California is, we're behind enemy lines here. In order to get to SHOT Show, Nick and I had to crawl under the razor wire to get past the guard
Did
tower.
you have any problems going through customs?
Getting back is going to be pretty tough. Yeah, did you bring your passport? That's what so we cannot have AR pistols in California anymore. If you had it, you registered it, you're good, but you can't have another one.
Yeah.
That I'm aware of, other than I think somebody makes one that's weird and legal because it's a single shot or something. But we don't. You can't build one. You can't have one. But if you're in another state, you're buying the shorter conversion kit and applying it to your AR pistol.
Yep.
And now you've got an AR pistol in 9 that can be swapped from 9 to 5.56 to whatever other uppers that you have.
Yeah, so I mean we have them. So in the pistol configurations, we have 5 or 8-inch barrel combinations. So you can get the complete firearm, in Glock-fed magazine or the AR conversion magazine. You can get just the upper, build it onto your lower. We even sell the components for the builders out there. So the nice thing about the 9 AR conversion magazine is there's a lot of builders out there that don't necessarily want the proprietary parts. They don't want that Glock-fed magazine. They don't want anything special on an upper because a lot of blowback uppers have small ejection ports and stuff, and you have to get these specialized things. Well, you buy our radial delay blowback bolt and barrel, and the 9AR conversion. Use a mil-spec upper, use a mil-spec lower, use a carbine spring, carbine buffer, whatever trigger it is you like, whatever handguard you like, and you've got it. So you have a great
and it ships to your front door.
Yeah, because if it's just being a bolt and barrel, you don't have to worry about
FFL.
Yep.
Exactly.
Yep.
Yeah. And buy a PMag if you have. I have not met an AR guy that doesn't have a dozen PMags in the first place.
Yeah.
So pretty easy.
Because it's not even a good start.
Yeah, I was going to say that's just the beginning. Yeah. Well, we spent a lot of time on that conversion kit. What else is new with Cmmg?
Oh well, I mean the biggest thing.
10 millimeter.
10 millimeter.
10. Well, everyone. So. And everything kind of goes back to radial delay blowback. So radial delay blowback was introduced in 2017 at the NRA show at the time was the guard for the 45 ACP, which makes a lot of sense to have less weight, less felt recoil with a 45 ACP.
Yeah.
It's more recoil than you would get with the 9mm.
You bet.
It absolutely helps with 9mm. It makes it very fun to shoot, but it makes the 45 ACP even more pleasurable to shoot. Ever since that,
radial delay blowback was actually derived out of necessity to be able to get 45 ACP to operate correctly because of the gas pressures.
Correct.
It couldn't run blowback because it was just slamming the carrier back so violently, but it had nowhere near enough gas to be able to run a gas system. Like some of our early testing, we actually had a gas system like 3/4 to an inch in front of the shoulder.
My goodness!
Like
seriously?
Like a .125, gas port, like 3/4 of an inch to an inch in front of the shoulder, running the gas system, just to try to make it work. Yeah, we were trying to figure out how to get 45 ACP to work, and that was one of the early systems we were looking at trying to do. I'll tell you what, with that large a port that close to the shoulder, I mean, we're getting copper, we're getting brass, we're getting all kinds of crap coming through that gas system, and it was gunking it up so horribly. So we're like, we need to figure this out. This doesn't work. This doesn't work. And radial delay blowback was the answer, and it got to be a good answer for a lot more calibers. So I mean, we went weird. We already had the Mark 9, the standard blowback Colt-fed 9mm magazine, and everybody got on that trend of the Glock magazine fed stuff, and we're like, okay, Glock fed 45, why not? It's just we gave our engineers a bit of a challenge, and they were up to the task, and then we're like, okay.
Which led to 10mm, which...
Because the minute we released the 45, everybody was like, where's the 10?
Yeah, like it's that, easy.
If you can't make it work with the 45 ACP, you ain't making it work with a 10.
Well, we almost immediately started working on the 10 mil after the 45 because
think people were actually looking into it during the 45.
Yeah.
And then really it progressed once 45, okay, it's done. It's working 100% of the time. It's out there on the market.
Well, I mean, the minute we got the 45 done, we immediately started looking at 9, 5.7, 40, and 10 mil. So we're like, all right, these are going to follow. And they got shuffled from time to time, like, okay, this is now the priority. Now this is a priority, trying to figure out where we're gaining ground. Where could we get the most advancements the quickest to be able to get the next product out there? But, the 10 mil, it took 2 years of product development to get it to the point that we were happy with releasing it.
Well, the problem with 10 mil, not the problem, you just have a wide variety. Yeah, obstacle, exactly, is you have a wide variety of loads and 10 mil.
Yeah, right. It's all over the place.
Oh, you got stuff that could be a watered down 40 up to some stuff that'll just thump a deer or thump a bear.
I think there's 9 mil that's heavier than some of the lightest 10 millimeters. And then you have the huge Buffalo Bore 240 grain or whatever it is. It's just a huge pill. And we live in a world where consumers want to get a product, open it out of the box, and it work with everything. Whether it's the cheapest ammunition that they can find, which is usually the case because you just spent a lot of money on a firearm, so you probably bought an optic and accessories. Then you went and got some ammo. So
then they're at the range and they just want to press the trigger. They're not all that concerned about performance of the ammunition. So.
Exactly. And then they shoot the really watered down, low pressure 10 mil, and it may not cycle. So the engineers really had a challenge in front of them to get it to work with so many different loads, which it does. And they found a system that works, which is just swapping the buffer out of it. It ships with the 10 mil. It ships with the standard carbine buffer and an H3 buffer, which is a little bit heavier, that's pre-installed. That allows you to shoot the H3 buffer is going to shoot the 10% to 90% of the loads. The standard carbine is going to shoot the 0 to 10%, and then also there's an 8-ounce buffer, so a heavy buffer, heavier, 8 ounces, I said, that can be purchased separately. That's going to shoot your really heavy 10 mil loads and or suppressed.
Now, so if you're an AR person, swapping that buffer is like could I say my mother's name faster than I can swap the buffer? Probably not.
Yeah.
Not that her name's tough, but it doesn't take very long. So it's a real simple thing to swap a buffer. That's just nothing. It's really simple, easy to do.
And there's a big 10 mil crowd out there. And when we release, you've seen some other manufacturers try to release it. It's kind of cool. It works in the PCC platform, but our 10 millimeter has been doing very, very well. And we launched that last year, September 10th.
Shooting straight and always right on target. This is the GunGuyTV podcast.
Now, so I'm going to say this now because after what I was joking about before, ship me one so I can review it, please. And if you want it back, send us a label, and I will send it back to you. I was giving you a bunch of grief before, but absolutely we'll send it back to you.
Yes,
it's not a problem.
I will make a note of it because
please do ship me one because the 10 mil's a big deal.
Yeah, it is.
It is a big deal.
Well,
and the fact that you've gotten one to work well in this way in an AR platform is huge.
Well, I think we have to get you on because we're talking about it, and you need firsthand experience with it. And it's everything. It's recreational, home defense, truck gun. It'll put a bear down. Guides in Alaska carry 10 mil Glocks
for a reason.
For a reason.
Yeah,
because there's big animals out there.
Right.
So it's no joke. But going back to radial delayed blowback, you would think the 10 mil is going to be a big old horse that you have to try to hold
the
down.
Snot out of you.
It won't be fun to shoot. And everybody that I have talked to loves to shoot it.
Well, this is why I want you to send me one because it's funny when I'll talk about the radial delayed blowback system where the 9mm is concerned, and you get the 9mm doesn't have any recoil.
Right, sure.
Right, but anybody that's shot a 10 mil in a handgun knows that's a serious cartridge.
Oh yeah,
and so. You put it in an AR, you don't expect it to thump you, but it's gonna if it's a heavy bolt.
Yep.
To be able to make really rapid follow-up shots and keep them right in the zone where you want them to go, because the system is designed to reduce the recoil and allow you to do that, is quite a stellar feat. It really is. So please do.
The 10 mil Banshee that we send out ships with a 30-round SDM magazine, and it works with Glock magazines too, and it had last round bolt hold open, which is another feature that we haven't really discussed with the PCCs. Is we have radial delayed blowback and last round bolt hold open, which a lot of PCCs are starting to really kind of go that way.
Both
but
of
is
those
it reliable?
Features are things that we've gotten patented.
Yes.
You know,
Yep,
so the
linkage
radial delay
system.
blowback was something
That's a CMMG only thing.
That's a
right?
patent.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
we had a patent pending forever, and then mid last year, we got the patent approved on the radial delay blowback operating system. But prior to that patent getting approved, we got the patent on the last round hold open.
The linkage.
So we have some linkage that works very well on the last round hold open for those Glock style magazines. And the nice thing about it is it didn't require heavier springs, lighter springs, anything else. I mean, the bolt catch is a standard AR bolt catch with just some linkage done to it that grabs the lip on the front of the Glock magazine and works very well.
But I mean, as far as you're operating the platform, everything is the same. Nothing changed.
Yeah, I mean, you can still standard AR, triggers, like if you have your favorite trigger, whatever
Trigger,
it is.
bolt release, whatever. Yeah.
All that stuff.
Yep.
Yeah, and
Muscle
you can,
memory.
If you want to drop a rise trigger in it or whatever, or some sort of drop-in trigger, Timney or whatever, you can do that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Versatility. You don't have an AR-15 without versatility. They go hand in hand. And to give as much credit where credit is due, the engineers and the R&D team at Cmmg is, I've had many closed-door conversations with them, and won't name any names or anything, but, they have turned down other opportunities in the industry because they feared that they would be working and developing a new handguard or a folding stock. That's cool. I love it. I have them on my rifles, but it's not innovative. That we now offer this in green. Okay, I like the color green, but it's not radial delay blowback. It's not innovative. And when it's CMMG, they're basically given a blank canvas and say, make something cool. And the owners oftentimes will come in and say, this is a cool idea, do this.
Yeah, I definitely got a hint of that a little bit. So, I mean, our innovation, in my opinion, really started turning the corner in 2015 when we dropped the Mark 47.
Mm-hmm.
So, the AKAR hybrid that was designed from the ground up to shoot 7.62 by 3.9 properly. I'm not saying the AK doesn't, but out of an AR platform, it's a totally different beast. So we really got that nailed down, and that has been an incredible platform for us. We have one that I take from show to show to show to show. I pretty much feed it nothing but steel case crap. It runs full auto all the time, and I've got over 100,000 rounds through the same upper, lower barrel and bolt.
Wow.
I've changed extractors, I've changed certain springs, little things break like hammer and detent, things like that. But the core components are still that same gun. So that was when our engineering team really just like, hey, we're going to start thinking outside the box. And that kind of came from our owners. Our owners have brilliant minds. They come to our engineers and say, I want to do this. Let's make it happen. And they really work with them pretty closely with our engineers. And now it kind of gets to the point where, our owners might take a product that we've already made and modified, and they'll take and play with it. And they'll come into the engineering room and be like, okay, I made this, now make it better. So our engineers constantly have fun stuff being thrown at them, and it's a juggling act to see, what do we think is going to be the next best thing? What do we need to spend the most time on trying to get research and development, get it out there as soon as possible? But, it's a ton of fun. And I wish I could allude to, more things that we've got coming in the future. I'll tell you, just like the last few years, definitely stay tuned to us because we're constantly coming out with fun new stuff. I will promise you right now, this is the AR-57 conversion that we just released last week is not the last thing you're going to see from us this year. I think right now, I'm not going to get into too much detail, but I'm going to say you're going to see 2 new calibers on top of our 16 we already offer by year end.
Okay, that's extraordinarily exciting.
2 calibers that nobody else is doing. I don't think.
One of the things I just love about you guys is that, to be quite frank, when you've gone to enough SHOT Shows, you kind of see the same guns over and over again, and except like, hey, this one's now pink. I literally just held a gun yesterday that was like SpongeBob themed, like light pink, blue, and it felt like, it was really tropical. But that was the only cool thing about it. Or like the widget from the sight's no longer right at the barrel. It's a little bit now closer. It's like, it's not innovative. Every time we go to you guys, it's just something brand new that I didn't even think about. I'm like sitting here just listening to you guys in awe, like, wow, I never even thought about that before. Like just loading the 9. You have to have the thumbs of Samson just to get these suckers in there. But now you just clip them. Like it's so
Yep.
You really do think of the consumer. You think of the people that are trying to buy it. It's fantastic.
I do most of our social media. Whatever social media platform it is, if they're sending us a message, chances are you're talking to me. So I'm typically the guy responding. I don't have all the answers. A lot of times I have to refer people to our tech support or, our sales team or something of that sort. But I can definitely get somebody in the right direction. But, I also get a ton of messages from people that are like, hey, why don't you guys do this? How about this idea? And a lot of our ideas have stemmed from us just listening to our customers because, let's face it, if it wasn't for customers buying our products and wanting to buy our products, we wouldn't be where we're at.
Right.
So listening to them is definitely something that we take to heart. We try to keep our finger on the pulse of the industry and see what trends are going. But we also don't want to alienate our core customers that have been with us forever and are constantly looking for that fun, new, innovative stuff. And if somebody comes up with something, I'm like, wow, I didn't think about that. I'm immediately like, thanks, forwarded this onto the engineers. I'll throw it on their plate. Not that they have enough stuff on their plate already, but, if somebody's got something fun, I definitely kick it to the engineers. And, it's up to them to assess, is this a priority? Is this something we want to dig into a little bit more? That's where some of this stuff comes from.
At some point or other, though, you realize that as a business, you make certain investments in certain things in order to make your business grow, in order to compete with those companies that you're sharing a market space with, and so on. Research and development is exciting. It's fun.
Yeah.
It's incredibly cool, and it requires a really big checkbook.
It does. I think a lot. It gets lost a lot on, some people see prices of final products, and it's tough for people to always fathom that product that just hit the market has been undergoing 2 years or more of rigorous training and constantly troubleshooting and that hey, we got 10 steps forward, now all of a sudden we're going 5 steps back or whatever, because you change the spring rate because you're like, okay, this is working, I need to change this spring rate. So you change that spring, and all of a sudden that opens up a whole new can of worms because something else is now not working correctly.
Well, to give credit to the entire industry, because credit is due, is the industry and firearm manufacturers, ammo manufacturers, optics companies do such a good job of producing a product that works. And I think oftentimes it gets lost on the consumer how much time it went into developing that product so that they can enjoy it and that it works for them. And they will, may be upset with a certain price point, or they may not be, but it is expensive, as you said. R&D and research and development is expensive. And
it's not just a cost, it's a cost to the people, but as you said, it's cost of time.
Yeah.
It requires an investment of time, people, resources, and so on. And it is a bit, particularly with anything mechanical, and a firearm is a mechanical device when you get right down to it. Yep. You're exactly right. If you remember the old board game Mousetrap, you remember that?
Yeah. Oh, yes.
Where, you drop the ball and it would make 37 things go, and eventually it's a Rube Goldberg kind of a deal.
Yep.
And so if you change one little thing in this rather complex piece of machinery, it alters the balance of everything else. Mm-hmm. And now when it doesn't work, you have this behemoth you have to figure out, okay, what is it that in changing this spring I now screwed up that needs to be lighter or heavier or shaped differently or whatever, and now you have to go back and examine the entire mechanism to figure out what you just affected.
Well, and
that in itself takes time and exercise and money.
Well, absolutely right.
Yeah, looking at going from our 45 radial delay blow back to 10 mil. A lot of people are like, well, Glock does it in the same size magazine. Why can't you?
Right.
And they see things like, okay, when we really wanted to be able to have that be the same lower. We wanted that 45 lower that we released a few years ago to be able to take the 10 mil Glock magazine. But then you find out that, the diameter of the projectile means that the magazine has to seat at a different height. So what essentially is the same dimensional magazine doesn't sit at the same height. So now the 45 and the 10 mil are completely different beasts, and because of just little subtleties in the difference between those rounds, they're not interchangeable. So once we figured out we had to do a completely new lower for the 10 mil, we were like, okay, well, maybe we can retro the 45 to work in the 10 mil. It doesn't work either. So, a lot of people don't realize it. Most things, it's not as simple as just rechambering for something else. I mean, you have things like mag shelf heights and stuff like that just those little things that you don't think of initially. I mean, when we went with the Timmo, we went out of the gate with our 45 lower, like, we're going to make this work, or we're going to make this work. Then we realized, well, we have to make a whole new lower. So it's just things like that are ever present in the development of them that takes a lot of time and, just, fine tuning to get it just right, because we're also not going to release a product and we're not going to be at SHOT Show and say, check out this product. You might see it in a couple of years. If we introduce something at SHOT Show, we're going to say it's shipping next month.
I like to hunt. Mm-hmm. I like to shoot. And when I buy a gun, it gets here, I want it to work.
Yes.
Yep.
And I want it to work right, and I want it to work right reliably. If I'm buying it as a firearm I'm going to defend myself or my family with, that thing needs to be 100%.
Yep.
As it should.
Because at 99%, that's a 1% chance that I'm losing that fight and somebody in my household is dying.
Right.
The fact that you invest the effort and time you do to make sure that that thing shows up and it is 100% is extremely impressive in an industry that is incredibly competitive.
Yeah.
Where one of the things Nick and I used to joke around about, we would walk around and we'd get tired of seeing ARs.
Yeah.
I mean, you get to the point where you're going, is there a booth I can go to that isn't making an AR? Right? And you know what I'm talking about, because everybody and their grandmother is making ARs. Now, there's not as many around anymore.
Right.
Because a lot of them have fizzled out. Mm-hmm. You guys have had a history of making them right.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And I want to compliment. In fact, wait a minute, round of applause here.
In a public place.
In a public place. in the press room with
nobody's looking at us.
In the press room with 300 press people in there.
Random clapping starting.
Random clapping starting right here.
I feel like I should stand up and bow.
Yeah, please do. He's okay, so you can't see him, but he is. Is there anything else we need to wrap up, because we're running out of time, unfortunately? And I'm glad we've had you guys here. Is there anything else that you want to?
I've talked a lot, Eric.
I said at the beginning of this, I like to be behind the scenes, so that's why I bring Mike. He does all the talking.
You're not at this point, because you're on camera. You're the guy. You're out in front of the world now.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Well, I got 300 followers on my Instagram, so I'm a pretty big deal.
Wow, he is a big deal.
Yeah.
You have 300 followers.
300. My mom is probably 10 of them.
You're just your mom may be 299.
She may be 299. Yeah.
Rightfully so.
No,
thank you, guys. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I thought you were. Go ahead.
I think I was, but then I like to interrupt. So
interrupt away.
No, just continue to keep an eye out on CMMG. We're always putting out content. Mike is always putting out content on social media.
Yeah, we're definitely trying to grow those platforms a little bit more, so check us out.
Social media is the new customer service. People oftentimes don't want to pick up the phone and call customer service or tech support. They want to reach the manufacturer via Instagram or Facebook and message them or comment on a picture. And then we're always trying to grow that, like Mike said, in our YouTube channel as well. We have a YouTube channel, CMMG Inc., same thing with Instagram and Facebook. And as Mike said, going back, that's how we communicate to the consumer. Well, thank you for having us.
Oh, thank you. It's been
this was a lot of fun.
Oh, it's been a joy. Thank you guys for coming.
I enjoy sitting down.
Yeah,
getting off my feet from standing. It's a long.
Do you have an opening later this afternoon?
Yeah, we'll come back.
Well, you can always come back and have a beer at the end of the day. If you want.
We'll bring the beer.
Yeah, please do.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Have a wonderful show and a wonderful week, and thanks for coming over and seeing us.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
You bet. Our pleasure. Thank you very much for taking the time to listen like you did. I really do appreciate it. If you would like to support GunGuyTV, the easiest and cheapest way you can do that is to shop Amazon using our Amazon link. That costs you absolutely nothing, but it does help GunGuyTV quite a bit. So you can do that by simply going to our website at GunGuy.tv. You can also go to GunGuyTV.com or GunGuyTV.net. And on the top of the website, you'll see a banner ad for Amazon. It'll just be a little sales banner. If you click on that, it will take you to our Amazon link. Then if you bookmark that link in your browser and go there every time you buy something from Amazon, we'll get credit for the purchase. It won't cost you a dime. Everything for you is exactly the same. It's just they pay us a little bit of a marketing fee because you bought things through our link. That actually provides quite a bit of support for us and helps us to keep GunGuyTV running. Well, thank you again for listening. If you're going to still be with me with Patreon, hang on, because we're going to get on to the next part of the podcast. If not, if you're listening on your favorite podcast player to the syndicated version, we're going to wrap it up here. Thank you again for listening. Have a wonderful week, and please be safe.
You've been listening to the GunGuy TV podcast.